Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation for 100 Women to Watch, which is titled, What It Takes to Be a Media Darling in 2026. How timely, right? We've got a couple of weeks, a couple of days until the new year rolls in. I think this is a conversation that is very important to have at this juncture of the year. And what an amazing panel of women that we have to discuss this topic. So just to give it a frame, today's conversation is about influence that lasts. As the media landscape continues to evolve, visibility isn't really about who's being the loudest voice in the room. It hasn't ever really, right? But today we're going to uncover how it can be about clarity, it can be about credibility, and also it can be about authentic connection. So our panelists are women who understand how to navigate PR, media, and communications with intention, adaptability, and integrity. So today we're going to explore what it really takes to build trust, to stay relevant, and also to lead with purpose in the future of media and influence. So thank you so much for being here. And let's go ahead and dive in. We've got some amazing questions and some amazing panelists here. I'm curious, in 2026, what really separates leaders in who are in the media consistently, like from just being in the media one time to getting consistently called back? Like, how do people do that? How do they stay away from being the one hit and the disappear? Would anyone like to comment on that? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Carnett. I think something that makes somebody get called back is content. To have good, rich content that you can apply to the different media outlets based on the different audiences is what really will get you called back. And then also just using the snowball effect. Once you get one piece of media coverage, being able to have your press team leverage that to pitch you to other media. The thing to do to not get called back is to use AI to generate any sort of answers. I see this with a lot of press today saying, hey, if you use any type of AI to come up with any sort of thought leadership, we are never interviewing you again and we are cutting you off. And so I just always educate my clients. I know it's tempting to go put in a question, but remember, they have to be your original thoughts that have to come out of your brain as a subject matter expert.
I love that. I love that so much. Hey there, this is Brandy Sims, founder of Branding PR, and super excited to be a part of this panel along with all of the amazing panelists here. For me, I would say it very much leans on the perspective of not relying so much on just your expertise, but actually adding a level of charisma and relatability. I think that is the thing that separates leaders that constantly get calls back from media. And I can speak to this just not only working in PR for 15 years and working with clients across various different industries, but more recently working with one of our clients, Underground Music Collective, Gerard. I'm sure he's tuning in. When we first started working with his team, one of the biggest challenges was media opportunities. And it was because they had an indie label, relatively new artists, music artists, that were getting started. So it was a big challenge for them. So for us, what we did is we created a strategy that would give them ample results, but also give them that legacy that we were looking for. And as a result of our approach in leading into strategy and leading into the relatability aspect of it, it led to several media opportunities and consistent coverage for this client in a space and in a way that they had never received before. So I definitely, when we talk about, what is it that stands out for those leaders that just consistently get those callbacks, I immediately think of this client and the fact that now we do get those consistent callbacks without even having to put a pitch out, without having to even put a message out there. They're reaching out because they want to hear from him. They want to hear his expertise. They also want to hear from him because he is one of those speakers that is just incredibly relatable. And if you look at the current climate of media, you look at those individuals that have been making the impact and really having some great sound bites, great quotes across the board. The key and common denominator between all of them, I believe, is the relatability aspect of them. They're relatable. People remember them, but they also have a charisma. They have something that sazazu, if you will, that makes them stand out. And that's why media constantly goes after those same ones, because they know when they put them on, whether it is for a television segment or it is for a quote for an article, they know they're going to get more bang for that opportunity. So definitely relatability is the biggest one.
Yeah, I love what both of you ladies said. And I would just add that I think that it's also someone who understands their value and not just values what they can bring to the table as the expert, but also values the relationship. We know that our industry is very much built on relationships. And I think coming from the other side as the publicist or as the leader or the talent, you have to also put in the work to nurture and build that relationship. So that means, doing the work of researching and knowing exactly, who you're pitching, why you're pitching, doing the work before, for them, and basically bringing everything to the table so that they don't have to do the heavy lifting to understand why would you be relevant to my outlet, to my show, to my podcast. What problem are you solving right now? Like, what is my audience going to get from you? You've done all the legwork before to present yourself and present whatever your value is to them, so that they can easily go ahead and pitch that to their higher ups, or that just makes it easier for them. So I think a lot of times we can sometimes treat those relationships like they're transactional, and I really think that the ones that last really spend the time to nurture that relationship and understand how the relationship flows into a two-way street.
Thank you for reminding us that it's relationships. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hi, Dr. Pam. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to comment as well on how it is that we can, continue to be called back onto stages and, really represent ourselves well and also provide value? I've got you.
Yeah. So one of the things is to make sure that you make the producer's job easier. Make sure the producer's job is easier, meaning that you give them B-roll, that you are giving them things that will make it so that they look good. So of course you want to show up and look good on the air. But you also want to make sure the producer is like, okay, if I need B-roll, if I need you to dress appropriately, if I need you to stand aside for 5 or 10 minutes, be easy to work with, be someone that's a joy to bring into the studio. That is really, really key, because if you are like a headache, it's like, no, give me a water. No, I don't want that water. Can you bring me sparkling water? Can you, don't be a diva. That's it. Don't be a diva. So make it so that it's so easy. If they call you at the last minute, be available. If they say, if you're in the green room and they say it's going to be another 15 minutes, is that okay? Yes, that's fine. So you want to make their job easier so they're not stressed out about it. They're in a high stress job. Remember, they are in a job and you are there to serve their audience. So whatever it is that you can do to make them look good, to make them win an Emmy, okay? Make them so that you are providing enough value and information to their audience where they say, you know what, they were so good, let's bring them back.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would love to. That's okay. So I love what Dr. Pam just said, and actually all of you ladies, what you said. I'm Danielle Jeter, by the way. I'm the founder and CEO of AOY Events and PR, and I'm also the founder of Women in Media Global. And I love this question, and I love this forum. So thank you so much for creating a platform for publicists, for people who do the work. I think it's important that we actually share more about our industry and how we actually have relationships on the other side of the story with the journalists, the newsmakers, and the producers. So shout outs to everybody who's tuned in and learning how to build their brand. I think one of the biggest ways that you can stay in the media is to build a relationship with the ladies like us who are on this panel. As publicists, our job is to make sure that our clients are seen, that they're heard, that they're positioned well, and that they're constantly in the face of the media. And so a lot of challenges that I've noticed that there's awesome people doing great things, but you all haven't been able to like invest in building a relationship with someone who could take you over to the next spot or take you over to the next level. And so as PR professionals, we hold the hands of our clients and we make sure you guys show up as superstars and we get those stories placed for you. And what does that take? That takes relationship building, right? And so anybody who knows that like, hey, I want to be successful, I have goals, I have aspirations, one of the things you want to do is like, how can I cut the curve and like get to where I want to go faster? And that's what we do as publicists. We make your job easier. We help you get to the finish line quicker and faster. And so, as Dr. Pam said, be easy to work with the producers and be easy to work with the publicists as well. We're going to guide you in a way that only makes you look great, because when you win, we win. And when the producers win, everybody wins as well. So it really is a team effort. When it comes to marketing your brand and building your brand, it is a team. It takes a team of people to be able to market that brand, to design it, to do the assets, to get your name out there and to polish you up. And so the quickest way to keep yourself in the media is to make sure that you have a team of experts and professionals around you to help you do the heavy lifting.
I love that. Can I piggyback off of that? Everything you guys are saying is landing so well, and I kept thinking about certain instances where I've had clients go on TV, and I think the impact that you leave not just on the segment but actually with the teams really had a lot of my clients come back, like rather than just contributing to the segment, also contributing to people's lives that you're working with, like the people who do your hair, the people who do your makeup, like leave them better than you found them. And almost all of my clients naturally do that because they're in the healing and wellness space. So they're not going to show up egotistical, it's not a self-serving prophecy. So I always love the interactions that I myself would have, but then my clients would also have with the journalist team or the producers, and they would leave them with something that either left them with some memory of them, or it moved them or inspired them. And so I always say, like, bring your full self to the full experience from beginning to end. Like, don't just show up in your shiniest self right when you're on the segment or right when the journalist is interviewing you, because I'm an observation too of how you are interacting with the team behind the scene, the camera people, the people writing the story, the people that are taking care of you. So the impact and the impression that you leave will 100% influence if you are going to come back or not.
That is so true. And leaving something behind is not necessarily your book either. Not your book. That's not what they're talking about. We're talking about something that leaves them better than you found them. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that the experts that continue to come back to are the ones that continue to show that they're growing and that they're consistent at what it is that they do. So they're not bouncing around from industry to industry or from business to business. They have longevity, and the producers and journalists can see that this person is committed to what it is that they have going on, because every single year I see them producing that same event. Every single year I see them back and giving back to the community. So they create a snowball effect of someone who is a reliable source to be like, hey, she's been in healthcare, she's been in wellness for the past 15 years, she does this. And building those relationships, keeping those relationships and reaching out to journalists too, to say, hey, this is what I have going on, inviting them to come out to your things, and actually treating journalists and producers as humans. Sometimes they just want to attend and not have to work. I feel like that's okay as well. I think my biggest relationships and the ones that I'm able to do the most business with is the ones that I legit invest into, and the ones that I legit build a relationship with, like, hey, we can go grab coffee and just talk about life. Or, hey, I'm having this birthday thing. Do you want to come down and like hang with women in media? And just hanging moments and just treating them like human beings, because sometimes they are so worked and they feel like they only get calls when we want them to do something, but like they also have priorities and needs as well. And so how can you serve the other person too on the other end of the story?
Oh, I just want to say something on that note. The importance of the relationship is almost as important as the pitch itself. You need to have something to work with as you're building upon that with the media. But more importantly, I just want to say that, and just hearing all of you, I mean, it's all been so helpful and so amazing. I just keep going back to the examples that we have of those that you see frequently being featured in media, frequently being called out for articles and quotes and different things like that. What is the thing that makes them stand out? Because if you think about it, if you had someone on so many different times, you would think that people would say, oh, well, they're going to get tired of them. And that's not the case for those that are frequently participating in media. It is that charisma. It's that thing that they're doing that makes them stand out and makes them engage with the audience. Something about them, it's that charisma, that spark. That's the thing that they keep going back to, because again, going back to my earlier comment, media wants something that their readers, their viewers are going to continue to come back to. And so as a speaker and as a leader, you have to be thinking and putting yourselves honestly in their shoes. What is it that I can do to contribute to this conversation that adds value? And that's something that they're probably not hearing everywhere else and all of the different platforms that they have access to. What can I bring to the table that's going to add value and add the spark that's needed for this conversation? Those are the ones that are going to come back every single time. And consistently, we see that every time in media.
Incredible.
I love that.
How can we... Please continue, Danielle.
Oh, I was just saying, I love what Dr. Brandy just said. We call that evergreen content in the industry. It's timeless. It's something that people can gleam onto or learn from, go back to, whether they're listening or reading. Something that's going to be relevant and stand the test of time. Evergreen content is amazing.
There's a great book. I wish everybody, Areva Martin, she's an attorney and she also is a nonprofit leader. And it's kind of like what you were saying, that they are leaving sound bites that are really, really good. The book is called Make It Rain, How to Use the Media and Revolutionize Your Business and Your Brand. She studied the media. When I say study it, she would tape talk shows and watch the guests. She would look at the credits at the end of the show. She would connect with the producers, the executive producers, because of the names that she would see. She would study them for a lot. And now, she's a regular contributor on a lot of the national TV shows, CNN and that sort of thing, MSNBC. But Areva Martin wasn't a publicist. She wasn't a person that was in journalism at all, but she studied it like she was studying a test. Okay. And so when she reached out on her own, she knew exactly what that host was looking for, what the producer was looking for, because she studied it. And so I always tell people, if you want to be in the media, you have to know the media. You have to study it. You have to know what it is that they want, not what you want to get across.
With that, Dr. Pam, I've heard that there are a lot of people who are kind of like stuck in that performance mode, being that they know what it is that people are looking for, and, whether it's the audience or the producers behind the scenes. How would you suggest maintaining that level of authenticity, so that the person can still be themselves, but still meet the expectations, of those who are watching and those who are helping them backstage?
It's just one of the main things, leading from the heart. Don't overthink it. A lot of people overthink the answers that they're going to say. Don't overthink it. People can see when you're just like really trying to figure out how to sound important. Just be real. One of the things why we love Oprah so much, you watch her podcast and things like that, she is just the same all the time. It's not like she's in Australia and Chicago. She's the same. So don't overthink it. You know your information. You know the heart of what you want to say. Just relay it to that audience. Think of talking to one person, not to the millions that the camera is staring back to you with, but that you're talking to one person. And talk to the host. Don't talk to the camera, talk to the host like you're having a conversation.
I think it's also important to do media training. A lot of people think, oh, I got this. I go speak on stages and I go do this and I talk to my staff all the time and I got this. And then the camera goes on and they freeze like a deer in the headlights and they just are looking everywhere and their eyes are going back and forth. And they, you know, you can tell if somebody's media trained or if they're not media trained. And so no matter how good you are, it's always important to do media training. We have a client that's going to be on Pix 11 in New York City, and she's done a ton of media for 30 years. And she requested, hey, can we please have a practice run through? I'm going to do it with her on Friday. And we did the media briefing for her with, these are the types of questions that this host usually asks. Here's how long the segment is. Here's how you're going to be seated. So this is what you should be wearing. Imagine being up on a high stool in a short skirt and then you're just uncomfortable and self-conscious the whole time. That's probably important to know beforehand how you're going to be behind a desk or seated wherever you're going to be seated. And so I think part of authenticity is also preparation. So if you have these details and if you can do some practice Q&A and even throw in a curveball based on what's going on in the news cycle. I mean, she's talking about people getting along and hate speech and all of these really big issues. And it's very easy to bring in something like the shooting in Australia that just happened. And well, what do you think about that? And so these timely events, I think the guests definitely have to be on their toes, especially for live media, for broadcast. So preparation is key. Then you can be your authentic self because you're comfortable.
Yeah, and if I could add to what Lindsay and Dr. PM said, I think that sometimes too we tend to treat authenticity and strategy like they're opposites, but they don't always have to be opposites. You know, they can act as partners, right? So I think that when you are very clear about like what part of your story serves the larger narrative that you're building, and you're coming with that, you know, discernment, but also that level of honesty, then you build more trust. And ultimately, like, trust is what makes you more media friendly, right? So I think that sometimes we don't have to separate the two. They can act as partners and help build for each other.
Okay, well, I think I'll jump in there.
Yeah.
I might be a little bit opposite from everyone here, but bear with me. So when I think of this question, my mind immediately goes to a conversation that I had with a client that in the initial, they were nervous about finding and really truly showing their authentic self. And this client had a very, and still has a very bold personality, wears bold, bright colors, you know, cusses like a sailor. I say this as a former Navy spouse, so I know the lingo. And, you know, one day she kind of asked me, you know, what do you think about me presenting myself? I mean, as I am. I'm concerned that it won't be received well, or I might not be able to be in all the places and all the spaces. And my response to her was this, you know, your authentic self is your North Star, right? And it is grounded in purpose. You know, what is your why? And only you can answer that. No one can answer that for you. And when you discover that and you define that, from that point, each platform that you go on, you can be grounded and rooted in this. So one thing that I think is important, that while, yes, we want you to maintain that level of authenticity, absolutely, would never go against that. However, I would say that each platform is going to require a different part of your authentic self, right? So if I have a bold personality, I'm not going on, I don't know, BBC and cussing up a storm. Absolutely not. I'm not going to suggest that to clients either. Now in the Breakfast Club, it may be a little bit different, but even then I would halt that because FCC guidelines, right? But I say all this to say that there is a way to find a balance where you are bringing your authentic self into the mix as you're doing these speaking engagements and doing all of the different media opportunities and placements and things like that. But you also have to be cognizant of the platforms that you're attending to. What is it that I'm hoping to achieve in this opportunity? Am I speaking to college students? Well, my authentic self can be brought to the forefront, but it may need to be tailored depending on who that audience is to best communicate with them. Because there is a way to do it. It's called a balance, but it's also being aware of where you're going and where you are going to best fit within these spaces. So I say that to say, I know I'm a little opposite from everybody else, but I just think that there's definitely space for this, but it certainly is a balance, because in every situation, sometimes your authentic self has to tone down a bit to be in the space, and it's not a horrible thing. It's a time and place for everything, and what you're bringing to the table, you don't want it to be distracted by whether it's a very vibrant or very off-colored comment or off-colored personality. You want it to be able to resonate with the audience that you're attending, but you also have to know and do your research, as it's mentioned before, and who is the audience that you are attending to and the platform that you're going to be on, and then work it from there.
That's really great. I'm going to piggyback off of that. Thanks for sharing that, Brandy. That was a really good nugget. It actually it made me think that not all opportunities are meant for our clients. I'm a huge stand for aligned opportunities. And I say this because you may have a wild card of a client and their authentic self may be to fully express themselves, and they don't actually know how to tone it down. And I've had a few of those. And I thought about, when people say they want to be on Joe Rogan's podcast, and you have to consider that that is one form of interview that is not edited, and it's a very long interview. So if you have a client that is a wild card, or they're like fully expressive, or they might not monitor what they're saying so eversently, then that might not be the right opportunity for them. There are other shows and other podcast shows and other media hits that you can get where their story could fit and position better than going on like a long form Joe Rogan. So I think about this a lot when I work with certain people. What is their full self-expression, and why does the audience love them? Like, why does this matter? And then I look at what opportunities are actually aligned for them, because I've turned down big media publications because I felt like it wasn't an aligned opportunity, or energetically I felt like they were trying to take from my client, then also serve the bigger mission and the impact. So I really look at those things as like, is it an aligned opportunity? And are they going to be able to actually tone back their expression, their authentic voice in a long form interview?
I'd love to add as well to this question. Some of the greatest speakers and the greatest presenters that I've noticed throughout my career are the ones who have nailed down their story in their introduction, to the point where the audience knows exactly, like, if you have been studying and watching this person, you know their story, you know how they introduced themselves, how they were brought up, their parents did this, they were raised here, they started from the bottom, now they're here, they went through the trenches, and then it happened, it turned around, and God made a way. Like, I think they're able to come through in their authentic way because they have taken the time to really craft a story that is going to be like, this is my brand, this is the message, this is my story that I'm going to tell to everybody. No matter if I'm speaking on a stage, or if I'm doing a TV interview, or if I'm writing a book, everyone is going to know that this is my origin story. And then they lead into like the other components of, like, maybe it's more topical with what they're talking about in this particular opportunity. But I love that they have branded a origin story and an introduction that doesn't waver. I believe that it allows them to be very authentic when they show up, because they don't have to rethink over and over again. Oh, wait, how am I going to introduce myself? Wait, what am I going to say today? No, this is who I am. I'm this person from this place. I do this thing. I love to do it because of this. I started from here. Now I'm here, and boom, this is what we have today. I think that is one of the greatest ways that you can show up authentic as well, and then continue to make that connection to no matter who your audience is.
You know what? I just wanted to say, Dr. Pam had mentioned that earlier too. Don't overthink it. When you start overthinking it, that's when the message gets misaligned. And that's what you don't want. You know, you want people to engage with you, to be a part of this discussion and be a part of this conversation, this narrative that you're building and you're creating. And when you start to overthink it, it derails it. And so, you know, one way to stay in alignment with your purpose, as it was mentioned before, is being very, very clear about who you are and what you're bringing to the table. That's it. If you, and honestly, you know, just kind of advice I've always gotten was, if you have to question it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. And maybe that's something that you should think about too. If you have to question it, like, oh, should I go on this NBC thing? Or, oh, should I do this article write up? If you have to overthink it or do too much with it, it probably is not something that's in alignment for you. But guess what? There's plenty of other opportunities that are in alignment for you, and you're making way and making space for that to actually happen. But you have to cut it off in order for that to exist.
And watch out for the rabbit holes. Sometimes people go down the rabbit holes.
Oh, yeah, no, that's where the training comes in. And you know what, Lisa, you brought up a great point, because I was literally about to say it's absolutely okay to reach out for help and support, right? As communications professionals, as women who craft stories, we are more than willing to help you strategize around how can I best tell this story. Maybe I need to shorten it. Maybe I need to lengthen it. What do I say? It's absolutely okay to just not flop and reach out and say, hey, I need a PR professional to craft this story because I know opportunities matter and I do not want to crash and burn. I do not want to get up here and mess up an opportunity. And we do not want to see people going down a rabbit hole. I'll be like in the background, like, no, stop. Just no. So, you know, reach out. This is the perfect time of year to get ready for 2026. What do you want your 2026 to be about? What do you want to say? What is the mission and the goal? Let us help you craft that story.
And I'll just mention too, like the origin story, that's kind of scary to some people, but everybody knows what an elevator pitch is. So think about an elevator pitch. Everybody knows an elevator pitch for a business, but in PR, we can't be salesy. So the origin story is like a non-salesy version of your elevator pitch. So if that helps make it more approachable for people.
Mm-hmm. I like what Tanya said too. Tanya said something that was really, I don't know if she remembers. She said how to position you in the media, and to know that there's more than one. Maybe Joe Rogan is not the media outlet for you, but you may have a client that says, I want to be on CNN, Joe Rogan, because you're naming the top 10 of like the podcasts and things that they listen to. Maybe the most famous people have been on those outlets, but they're just starting, or maybe they're mid-tier. They're not an A-lister yet. They are maybe the B-lister, but we won't tell them that. But so we will tell them there's other outlets that are better fit for you, because that's where your audience is. Not that audience doesn't have a large listenership or viewership or readership, but it's a better fit for you right now. And people need to understand that media begets media. You start here and you move up. No one starts at Oprah. No one starts at CNN. No one starts, at the larger outlets. They have to work and develop the muscle for the local media. Maybe do that.
Well, why not, Dr. Pam? Why can't I go from 0 to 100 real quick?
Why can't you be on GMA today? I wrote a book. I wanted to just like back in the day.
Yeah,
to be on
that's an age-old
question. People that are more prepared than you. If we just start with your media assets, you don't have a good headshot. Let's just start with B-roll. You don't have any. Let's just start with media training. You never did any. So there are things, don't let me start like naming all the things that you don't have, because
I don't have a website.
Roll in the corner. That part. The website,
don't have a website.
Is a Wix, and it may crash if you go on these shows. So
we actually had that happen on today's show, and I said, be careful, because I don't think your website's prepared for it. And they go, we'll be fine. Their whole website crashed, and they got a blip of sales and they wasted the whole opportunity. And I didn't want to say, I told you so, but it happened. Today's show and boom, crash.
Yes, more people think
one day
they'll
listen to their publicist. One day they'll listen to us.
One day.
Listen, we need to trademark that, ladies. One day they'll listen to.
One day they'll listen.
One of the things I always told Kai, I said this too. I said, I am a publicist, not a therapist. So one of the things I want to do was like, I can't really help you with any kind of emotional things that you have going on. I can promote you, I can put you in the media, but if there's other things going on in the background, that's your therapist's job, not the publicist.
Well, I play both. I definitely am coaching and publicist all in one. Probably why I have Soulful in front of my name, Soulful Publicist, because like those clients, and then I have to tell them, oh, it's not meant to be right now because the astrological timeline is not fit for releasing news right now. And you know, that is actually a reality.
And they believe that
work.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's always the idea that this is a water to wine situation. And I let my clients know this is not. This is not that. This is beyond television. I don't know what you watched. Okay, I know we love Olivia Pope, but this is reality. And reality is you're not going to be on Good Morning America tomorrow. You've never been on media.
Unless they have a big scandal, maybe.
Like, this is not scandal, okay? We're not doing this.
That's true.
I'm going to podcast to the Forbes. Why not?
Yes.
This kind of makes me think of creators too, with oversharing. I used to think that your social profile meant tell all, you know, that like builds trust. But I've noticed with some creators, when they overshare, it actually starts to lose the audience. That authenticity doesn't necessarily mean tell all. It means tell relevant pieces of your story where you know it's going to land for the audience, specifically if you are a creator, not just, you know, have expertise or you have some takeaways or knowledge that you're sharing. But if you're like telling your story, I think oversharing can actually lose your audience and they don't really know what to follow. So I think the origin story, like you guys said, and knowing your elevator pitch and just knowing like exactly like what your tagline is and like what your punchy points from your actual story is that is going to come through on your social content.
You know
in
what,
the
Tanya?
landmines.
Oh, go ahead.
Know the landmines, because to your point, we have one client that's worked with these creators. Just this is on the influencer marketing side. So they've paid them, they're travel influencers, and then they started doing a lot of political content. And now the client will not have them out because they're like, we don't touch political. So it's oversharing on that side. And, you know, they started out as this and then started adding this, and now they're not getting the business out of it.
Interesting. Yeah, like knowing what you stand for is I feel like that's like a strong point, is knowing what you stand for and stay there. But then at what point, like, can you pivot if you do want to be like a political activist?
Well, I just want to touch on what you mentioned just a second ago, Tanya, in that, do you notice that there is becoming that shift between brands seeking out influencers as opposed to content creators? There's a reason for that. Content creators are doing just that. They're creating content. They're creating an experience. They're bringing their audience into the fold. They're bringing that authenticity that we've spoken about so heavily throughout this conversation. Whereas influencers, 10 plus years ago, it was the thing. People want to see you just doing the thing. We want to see your plates. We want to see you standing by a fancy car and enjoying the luxury life. And that has slowly but surely started to go by the wayside. And I think it's just showing you exactly what it is in culture that is shifting. People don't care about your dinner plate. They don't.
Especially not in 2020.
No.
Nah, like they don't.
Not unless you're a celebrity chef, I guess, you know.
Not unless you're a chef. And most of these are not chefs. I see a lot of Chef Boyardee meals. No knocking Chef Boyardee, but I see a lot of that. Okay. People want more. And that's why, while influencers have been kind of slowly shifting down, you're seeing more content creators rise and become even more popular and getting so much more engagement. And honestly, they're starting to get this similar brand deals that we used to see only celebrities getting that. So all of that to say, like, there is a room and a space for this, that level of authenticity that makes and really drives the audience engagement. And you just have to look at what it is that you are providing to add value to the conversation and add value to the platforms. Those are the ones that are really taking off. But yeah, like you immediately, my mind immediately went to that as you were kind of speaking about it, and that we're seeing just that shift now of just there's less and less requests for influencers and more requests for content creators. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah. I'm so glad, Dr. Brandy, that you just broke down the difference between content creators and influencers. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was.
Thank you. And some don't know the difference. Some think, oh, well, we just need a little influencer for this partnership, or we want to collaborate with this. And it's like, no. First of all, does it make sense for your brand? Number one. Two, do you have the budget? Because I bring the budget right in the beginning. Now I know you want to partner with this one. What's that budget looking like? Because I already know this one that you want, they're already started at $250,000. I did something with Lily Pons like a few years ago, or at least we tried to pitch her out. But as soon as we brought that to the table, it was like, oh, so they're charging that. Yes, they are charging that much. But this, of course, was maybe 5+ years ago, where they were still having almost their renaissance, I would say, for influencers. But now it's very different and it's shifting. But I do think it's because the people are wanting content creation, and content creation is actual entertainment, which is bringing people to the platform and keeping them on the platform. That's the big difference. Influencers being famous for being famous, I think that is slowly starting to shift away because people are just slowly starting to not care. But then again, if you look at it, you're famous for being famous. You're not entertaining me. You're not engaging me. I'm definitely not relatable to you. You're rolling in a Rolls Royce. I've got my Dodge Neon. You know what I'm saying? Like, people can't relate to that. And that again ties back into what I mentioned earlier about just the relatability aspect. Your audience wants to be able to relate to you in some way, shape, or form. We all have a piece of something that everyone can relate to. We can all relate to, dang, I was supposed to be gone 10 minutes ago. I got to be there in 15. Uh-oh. We're going to be in trouble. Or, man, I'm getting nervous going onto this stage and speaking with this group. I've got butterflies. What do? We can all relate to our similar emotions, fear, excitement, the courage, and so on and so forth. Those are the things that engage the audience. And content creators, they're bringing that to the table. But
one of the things, Brandy, I think is most people think that they are influencers themselves. So that's why I think it has gone down. People think that they're an influencer. They really do. Like, I have a tribe, I have a community, and they think they are the influencers. So that's why it's like it's too many. Everybody thinks they're influencers. So I think that's why a lot of the decrease in the ask for influencers is going down. Content creators, yes, for sure, because that's a different skill level. Influencer, everybody thinks they're influencer. But they could be a micro influencer. Now it's the thing, it's a micro influencer. It's like, okay, I'm a
micro. Absolutely. And we have some clients that specifically choose to work with micro influencers and nano influencers because their cost is so low and the authenticity is so high. And the competition is low too. And so I think, Dr. Brandy, to your point, you talked about point 1 and point 2. I would say point 3 is the contracting with these influencers to get rights to the content to then determine how you want to use it as a brand. And just to decipher the two, because I had a client today, my 6 a.m. phone call from another country say, yeah, we want you to also get these influencers. And I said, nope, that's not an earned media service. This is a paid influencer service. That is a different scope. So if you are thinking out there in the client world that, PR means you're going to get earned media, social media, influencers, nope, those are different buckets. So at least at Marketing Maven, because it's different members of my team handle the earned media, handle the social media, handle the influencer marketing, and you have to contract them differently. And there are a lot of responsibilities liability wise with the contracts for the influencers and how you use their content in your own digital ads.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. What you're saying is so important because people don't get to hear about what's going on behind the scenes very often, which is why this conversation is so valuable. By the way, this conversation was inspired by Dr. Pam Perry, who is here. It was actually originally called How to Be a Media Maven, which would have been for us as professionals. And Dr. Pam and I had a conversation where she was able to reframe it so that we're providing more value for you, the ones who are watching this. So Connie, Ashnell, Lauren, Savio, everyone who's here, who's watching in the comments, this conversation is for you. And we can thank Dr. Pam for that. So I really appreciate you working with me, to help to cultivate the conversations that we're having. And also thank you for Speakers Magazine being one of our amazing sponsors for this conversation. It's because of the support, that we're receiving from people like you that this gets to be what it is. So if you would lead us off, Dr. Pam, on our last question for today, which is, what is one outdated PR rule that leaders can actually need to let go of so that way they can be media relevant as well as where people can find you on the internet and out in the world?
What do they need to let go of? Well, there's so many different PR things that people can let go of, but I want people to really understand press releases. Press releases aren't dead. Okay. So I've been a publicist for like 30 years. So press releases are not dead. Pitches and press releases go together, but I don't want them to think that that is something they need to let go of. They maybe need to make sure it's real news and to put it on a reputable news wire, PR news wire or something like that would be really good. The whole point of pay to play is really, really big now. So you can't really pay your way to Forbes. Well, maybe you can. You can't really pay your way to Inc. Well, maybe you can, but it's earned media that creates trust. So if you just want to pay to play, then that's an advertising. That's not a publicist. That's not someone who's trying to craft your story. So I want them to get rid of, I guess, this pay to play, that I can just pay my way into any kind of major publication or any kind of television station. There are stations that have pay to play where they have morning shows where you can actually do a segment. Typically, we can tell that those are paid. At least I can anyway. I said, oh, they must have paid to be on that show. But you really have to learn how to understand media, build relationships, and that's where the earned media comes from, by really having a good story. So you do have to engage with the publicist. Any of us are all great at our different niches. I primarily work with African American speakers and authors. You can reach me at pamperrypr.com. And thank you so much, Kai, for having me. And I love just being on this panel. It's like therapy to me. I love it.
Thank you so much for being here. And let's go right down the line. Tanya, would you mind also sharing your perspective on this question and where people can find you out in the world?
Yeah, you said share my profession and where they can find me.
Yeah, your perspective on what is one thing that people can just let go of if they really want to be media relevant. So that way we can just drop one more gem before we hop off of here.
Oh, great. I think that press and media should be expansive, not exhausting. So getting media, we should be really tuning into like, how are we expanding the conversation and expanding ourselves? How are we contributing to the bigger conversations that really matter? So I don't think it's just about going viral anymore. I think aligned content and aligned opportunities are what's really serving creators and thought leaders and experts that I'm working with right now. And the relationships, like the relationship rule should never die. It should always be about what am I giving, not what can I get. And I think that's just an overall golden rule that I would like to stamp that should stay in the PR world. And I created Soulful Publicist because I love to bridge the gap between human consciousness and mainstream media. And I serve thought leaders, experts, and brands who want to disrupt systems in the mind, body, spirit realm. And I'm the founder of Soulful Publicist, and I'm a speaker and a media strategist. And I love having conversations like this. And if anyone wants to reach out, I'm always open to have a discussion.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and for all of the perspective that you brought today. We're putting up your Instagram so that they can find you at Soulful Publicist on Instagram. And Pam Perry, just to repeat, was pamperrypr.com. And now, Lindsay, if you would be so kind as to share, what's something that people can let go of as well as we continue on this journey.
I would say check your ego at the door. And don't start up here. Don't poo-poo the opportunities that your team brings to you. It's really easy for people to turn their nose up and say, oh, well, I've never heard of that one before, but they might not realize, hey, that person could be a connector for them because we know that they've connected clients with other opportunities, or that one has really, really great SEO value. And in today's day and age, today it is GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. What does that mean? It's for the AI overview part of a Google search. And guess what matters? Earned media. So PR is so important for everybody today. And if you're not doing it, you're going to miss the boat and not be searchable anymore. So don't poo-poo the little opportunities. Take them and say thank you and do them and meet the deadlines. Don't just sit on it. And people can find me at marketingmaven.com and my LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn creator. I have 23,000 followers on LinkedIn, and that's on the B2B space. So I'm also the author of the Marketing Maven Method, which is market research, marketing strategy, and then implementation, which PR is a piece of that implementation. So feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, for being here and for sharing who you are for other people. And awesome that you're playing on two sides of the coin here as a content creator and also as the CEO and president of Marketing Maven. Such a pleasure. Okay, Dr. Brandy, lay it on us.
Okay, well, do you want me to answer the question about the outdated PR rule, or?
Absolutely both. We'd love to hear. Yes.
Okay, of course. I would probably say the outdated PR rule that PR only counts if it's in traditional media, and generally just media speaking. It's not just limited to media. Okay, PR expands beyond a wide range of areas. We're tapping in, and we've spoken about influencer and brand partnerships. We've talked about publicity events. We've even talked about press releases and their purposes. All of these areas help to impact a PR strategy and a PR campaign. So I definitely want to do away with this idea that PR can only happen when it comes to traditional media. Absolutely not. And especially as we've seen the expansion of all the different platforms that are now readily available and accessible through online. So podcasts, your blogs, and as it was mentioned before, GEO is a huge, huge thing. So there's so many different ways that you can be tapping in and getting the exposure that you're wanting and your brand is needing to connect with that audience. So definitely, let's put that thing to bed. Let's leave it in 2025. PR is not just limited to media, and it's not just limited to traditional media at that. It is tapping into so many different areas that make the impact. For those that want to get connected, I always love to answer questions and get connected with some amazing professionals. You can find me at brandingpr.com. We have a ton of really, really helpful resources. We work primarily with entrepreneurs, public figures, as well as brands and organizations within the entertainment and sports space, but we do dabble into other areas too. You can check out the website. Again, a ton of helpful resources. If you are just needing to learn more about PR, or you're just simply needing to figure out, how do I go from here to hear. We can help you with that. And then you can also follow us at Branding PR, BRANDINC PR, on all the social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you named it, we're there. As well as check out our podcast, the Branding PR Podcast, where we host incredible business professionals and leaders across various different industries that share a lot of the insights that you heard today and a lot of really, really helpful advice. Our goal is always to how we can educate you and get you prepared for that next opportunity at Branding PR. So happy to be a part of this, excited to be with this panel, and definitely want to see this conversation continue going as we are making media darlings across the board.
Absolutely. And thank you specifically, Brandy, because I love the way that you bring like the research and the facts and the percentages. Like you got it really grounded in a way that some people can understand, you know, what PR is in terms of the numbers. So I'm always a fan of when you're bringing that approach. Thank you so much. Okay. Lauren, would you care to share next?
Yes, absolutely. I think for me, it's letting go of the narrative that PR is solely about control. And I know that might be an unpopular opinion because we have been kind of bred and shaped to control the narrative, control the story, control the moment. And I think surely that's what it used to be solely about. But I think now PR is really also about credibility. You know, who can show up in a space and form, who can show up human, who can show up responsive and not be overly managed, overly like curated, you know, who's not afraid to speak in real time on things and, you know, be relatable. I think we've touched a lot about authenticity and relatability in here. And I think that the leaders who are shaping, you know, what the future of PR is are the leaders who understand that. And those are the ones that the media is going to continue calling on and relying upon. So for me, I think it's just releasing, you know, that PR is all about control. It's all about that transactional relationship. I really think we need to get back to the human aspect of it a lot. And, you know, that's what created this in the beginning. It was about relationships. And so I think we really need to get back to the root of that. And for me, you can I'm at Miss Lauren Page across pretty much every profile. LinkedIn, I am Lauren Page Willard. Similar to Lindsay, I dabble in both publicity and creator work. So yeah, just very excited to have this conversation with all of you amazing women. And yeah, let's do more of it in 2026.
More of it and more of it together, right, Lauren? That part. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. And Danielle, would you mind sharing about your take on this particular topic? You know, we're just talking about what is the one thing that people need to let go of.
Yes, absolutely. I love the idea, Dr. Brandy, also of continuing this conversation. So we'd love to come into your podcast, talk more PR talk. Keep me in mind, girl. Okay. But this conversation was absolutely wonderful. And I want us to leave behind in 2025 the idea that you can go from 0 to 100 real quick. Okay. Let's not forget local media. Sometimes when you are building a brand, when you are just getting out there, and maybe, you know, like Dr. Pam said, maybe you're mid-tier, maybe you're in a building phase, right? You're going to get there, but local media is a great place to start. Sometimes we want to skip local and be like, oh, let me just go to the big national names because those names are great. But local media is where you get warmed up, right? You can warm up your chops. You can try out your content. You can become a local star. How about becoming a big fish in a small pond? I think that strategy is amazing and it still works. And so let's not think that we're going to go from, I have millions of followers on Instagram, and so because of that, I need to be on Forbes. Let's not forget our local media. They are the ones who help tell the story at the local level, which is also going to help you connect the dots moving forward. The other thing is, real PR today is about relationships. It's about storytelling and it's about strategy. So do we have a story that we can really share? Is this something that is really not only going to be awesome that you feel like in your office, but the end user, the audience, the subscribers of that media outlet, is it going to move the needle and touch their hearts? That's a story. So it's not really about like mass emails or spray and pray pitching and thinking like, oh, you know, I'm just going to send out a press release and hope for the best. No, we have to pitch. We have to get clear on our message. We have to know who our audience is and why the story actually matters. And there's no amount of outreach that will outwork that strategy. It's about strategy, and telling that story. So as long as we're intentional, we have human connection, and we're value driven, and we're not transactional, I think things will be really good for us in 2026. So that is my answer to that question. I am Danielle Jeter, the CEO of AOI Events and PR, and also Women in Media Global. Connect with me on Instagram at DP Jeter. Here is my LinkedIn page. I'm also very active there. And at my agency, we love to work with corporations. We work with small businesses. We also work with public officials, and we work with people who are building a brand. So if you have a story that you want to tell, and I'm very good at telling hard stories. If you have a story that you have not been able to get out there or get pitched or get land, I'm your girl. I can really work a strategy for you and get things done. So let's connect. Send me a DM. I would love to connect with all of you. We cover all things traditional PR. We also do digital marketing. And I myself is a speaker and moderator as well, looking to connect with more people on the mic and on the stage. And if you're interested in more conversations from women who are in the media and entertainment industry, and also who are entrepreneurs in that space, then you're going to want to connect with Women in Media Global. That is womeninmediaglobal.org, and we're on all the platforms as well. And we have a podcast called The Women Speak Show. That is me. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to everyone. By the way, I love that how some of our gifts are coming out, while we're here in real time. I don't know if any of y'all have actually experienced Danielle as a spoken word artist, but I was at one of the Women in Media Global events in Philadelphia not that long ago, and I was like, she just lit the stage on fire. Like, there is some real talent sitting here amongst us. And I know that we've all got it, right? We're all doing different things. Tanya's dancing up a storm, lighting the stage on fire. Everybody's got something here, okay? And just know that the world is watching. We know that, right? But this is just a good reminder from me to you. And I am in awe and inspired and in admiration and gratitude for each one of you. Thank you so much to our incredible panelists for sharing your insight, your experience, your wisdom, your perspective here today. And also thank you to you, the one who's watching this. This conversation would not have been the same had you not been here. I've actually got another question for when we do part 2 that came from Savio in the comments. We're going to save that one, and we're going to continue that conversation the next time. So this, for everyone, was a reminder that media darlings aren't manufactured. We're actually building, through consistency, we're building through trust, we're building through storytelling, and also we're building through truth. So this is a reminder about that, and also that the future of influence in many ways, belongs to, actually, I don't want to say belongs to, but is very present with the women that's here in this room, and also that are women across the globe. So just understand who it is that we get to look to, that we get to ask the questions to, that we get to reach out for help. As we were saying earlier on, we're here. So we're grateful for your time. I'm grateful for you, your voice, your leadership. And until next time, thank you so much for being a part of the 100 Women to Watch campaign. I appreciate you all.
Amazing moderation, Kaid. So good.
Thank you. This was good. Like I said, it's like therapy.
Thank you so much for this. This has been amazing.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, and bye for now.